Welcome back to Christian Doctrine and Systematic Theology. Last time we continued our look at the doctrine of anthropology, and specifically we looked at what the Bible says about the creation and nature of man. We saw that although God created human beings perfectly, designed to live in harmony and fellowship with God, and designed to have dominion and exercise stewardship over the earth, and He designed them as sinless beings, that was all before the fall. Our first parents sinned, and the entire human race was alienated from God. Death entered creation. The second law of thermodynamics began to operate, and the entire creation was subject to corruption. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to discuss the Hebrew and Greek words that are translated as sin in the Bible. Concisely, we want to define what sin is, and we want to review the origin of sin in the universe and discuss the consequences of that sin. Now, in the Old Testament, the principal Hebrew word that is rendered as sin is chahda'ah, from a root meaning missing the mark. For example, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. That's Genesis 4:7. And Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? How have I offended you that you brought on me and my kingdom this great sin? You've done deed to me that you had not ought to have done." That's in Genesis 29. And then the priest shall make atonement for him for his sin that he's committed in any of these matters, and it shall be forgiven him. The rest shall be the priest as a grain offering. That's in Leviticus 5:13. Now, there are a number of other Hebrew words that talk about the idea of sin, but are not the same sin that we've been talking about. There's one that's translated a transgression, a rebellion, as in an army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifice, and he cast truth down to the ground and did all this and prospered. There's another Hebrew word for sin, avon, which means perversity, depravity, and iniquity. And after all that has come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great guilt, since you, our God, have punished us less than our iniquities deserve, and have given us such deliverance as this. That's in Ezra 9:13. Another word is shagah, to go astray, to err, to swerve, or to wander. With my whole heart I have sought you, O Lord. Let me not wander from your commandments. That's from Psalm 119:10. Now in the New Testament, the principal Greek term is hamartia. Now that's where we get the term hamartiology. It also means to miss the mark or to take the wrong road. "Which of you convicts me of sin?" asked Jesus, "and why do you not believe in me?" in John 8:46. And then, of course, if we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. 1 John 1:8. And then when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. That's James 1:15. Pause the video at this point to discuss the implications of the words for sin, transgression, rebellion, and so forth that we find in the Bible. Working towards a definition of sin, I would say placing anything else in God's place, denying Him the worship and glory He deserves. Now, sin is also a violation of that which God's glory demands. We might also say that it is the contradiction of God. Sin involves selfishness, placing ourselves before our Maker. But more than that, it defines a willful disobedience directed as God. That's why I like the term cosmic treason. Sin is anything that is against God, and it is traitorous toward Him. We might want to pause the video at this point to solicit some of your definitions for sin. Now, the Bible does not deal with the origin of evil in the universe, but in Genesis chapter 3, it deals with the origin of sin in man. And remember that Satan's attack was directed against the integrity, the veracity, and the love of God. Sin found root in man's pretension to be good, to be like God. Now, consequences of original sin are immense. We've changed our attitude toward God. And it also involves a change in God's attitude toward man. And the entire human race shares solidarity in sin and evil. Also, the physical universe was cursed, and death appeared. Romans 6:23 talks to that. Well, what can we learn about these Hebrew and Greek words translated as sin? Well, sin is missing the mark or departing from God's design and perfect will. Now, I like cosmic treason against God as a definition of sin. And as a consequence, we are in our natural state, alienated from God. We're subject to death, and the entire universe is subject to corruption. And all humankind is subject to this evil. Before we move on to the imputation of sin, spend some time discussing your personal definitions of sin with others.